The truck market's biggest lie just exploded. For years, you were told a pickup was a blue-chip asset, a rolling investment that would never lose its value. Today, those same $60,000 luxury haulers are being dumped for as low as $9,000 onto the wholesale market. The crash isn't coming. It's here, and it's moving so fast that banks, dealers, and thousands of truck owners are in full-blown panic. Headlines claim this is a simple correction, but behind the scenes, a secret cabal of speculators, fleet giants, and lenders manufactured the crisis. And no one is talking about the hidden trigger that's making some trucks instantly worthless while others miraculously survive. Is this your shot at a once-in-a-lifetime deal, or is it a warning your wallet can't afford to ignore? Everything you thought you knew about your pickup is about to be flipped upside down. Where it all began was a simple shortage in 2021. When computer chip factories slowed to a crawl, assembly lines in Michigan and Texas sat silent, choking off the supply of new trucks. But this wasn't just bad luck. It was a gold rush. Dealers found their lots stripped bare, and the ensuing chaos became a feeding frenzy. Buyers in Florida and Texas shelled out $5,000 to $20,000 above sticker price just to skip the 6-month wait. And that's when the hoarders moved in. Rental car giants like Hertz and Enterprise, desperate to restock their fleets, aggressively locked up thousands of the most loaded high-trim models, Denali, High Countries, and Platinums, paying ridiculous prices to secure them. These weren't just work vehicles, they were speculators' trophies. Small-time flippers and side hustlers snapped up whatever they could find, registering trucks to their personal homes and instantly flipping them for 5-figure profits out of state. Manufacturers, smelling the easy money, focused almost entirely on these high-margin $62,000 plus luxury versions. Trucks weren't just transportation anymore. They became lottery tickets. They were status symbols, a sure bet. But beneath the surface, the seeds of the crash were already being sown. This frenzy of hoarding and speculation was a bubble, and the trucks themselves were about to become a radioactive liability. The bubble didn't just deflate, it burst with a loud bang, and the sound echoed from the auction floors. The turning point was early 2024 when Hertz made global news by dumping over 4,000 pickups onto the wholesale market in just 90 days. These weren't stripped-down work trucks. They were those same highly optioned $60,000 plus Denali and Platinums. Now, with a year or two of rental mileage, auction houses from Dallas to Atlanta were suddenly flooded with thousands of near-identical trucks. The sheer volume was so overwhelming the system couldn't handle it. Manheim's weekly reports confirmed the panic. Trucks that would have sparked a bidding war in 2022 were now struggling to get a single serious offer. By March, the average hammer price for a late model half-ton pickup plummeted to $28,000, a devastating drop of nearly 20% year over year. Internal fleet emails described the mood as pure panic, with one manager admitting they wiped $10,000 off the sheet price. And it still sat for a week. This wasn't just Hertz. Enterprise and Avis accelerated their disposals, pushing thousands more into the system. Dealers who had begged for inventory were now only cherry-picking, leaving the rest to languish. The oversupply was now impossible to ignore, and the panic was just getting started on Main Street. The auction chaos quickly cascaded up the food chain, landing a brutal punch in dealership offices across the country. Floor plan lenders, the banks that front dealers the millions to keep inventory on the lot, saw the collapsing auction prices and freaked out. Their patience ran out instantly. The banks sent an ultimatum, 48 hours to liquidate or have every dollar of their credit line frozen. The trucks, which had been the dealership's pride last year, became poison overnight. Across Texas, Florida, and the Midwest, dealers received terse notices of asset reappraisal and persistent non-performing stock. Their supposed blue-chip assets were suddenly worth less than the loans used to buy them. Panic set in. In a desperate bid to generate cash and avoid default, some dealers slashed sticker prices by $12,000. Then $20,000, running fire sales and dropping prices below wholesale, sometimes losing 5 figures per unit just to stay afloat. The old rules of hold your ground died instantly. This was survival mode. Move inventory or risk losing the entire business. Beneath the surface, the sense of trust between lenders, manufacturers, and dealers fractured in a matter of days. While Wall Street cut its risk with a few keystrokes, Main Street dealers were left scrambling to cover the fallout. But that wasn't the whole story. There was a secret force driving this price collapse. The dealers' desperate price cuts weren't solely about survival. They were being forced by a hidden, invisible hand, the manufacturer's back-end incentive system. In the fall of 2024, major brands unleashed a new round of so-called stair-step bonuses, secret cash payouts that only triggered if a dealer hit a specific monthly sales target. Screenshots leaked from dealer portals showed potential bonuses climbing as high as $7,500 per truck. These weren't public rebates for you, the buyer. They were invisible levers meant to force inventory out the door at any price. The result was pure chaos. Two Chevy dealers a few miles apart might list identical Silverados at wildly different prices, one slashing $12,000 off sticker to unlock the bonus while the other clung to the old price. One manager described it as whiplash pricing, saying, "One minute you're sitting on unsold trucks, the next you're giving them away just to hit the bonus and keep the lights on." This opaque system drove prices lower, faster, with dealers engaging in a furious race to the bottom. Transparency is DMN dead. Nobody knew the real price until the last second, and if you guessed wrong, you were left holding the bag. The fallout from this crash is not just about numbers on a spreadsheet, it's about the families facing ruin. Meet Rob Winters. 2 years ago, he bought a 2022 Ram 2500 for $68,000, convinced he was making a smart move, a workhorse that would hold its value. He locked in at 8% APR, and his monthly payment is nearly $1,100. Today, that exact same truck is worth less than $40,000 on the open market. Rob is more than $27,000 underwater. If he sold his truck today, he'd still owe the bank enough to buy a decent used sedan without a single set of keys to show for it. His lender's patience has run out. The latest letter demands a $10,000 lump sum, or repossession is next. The threat isn't just about losing a truck, it's about losing the tool he needs to work as a construction foreman. "I feel like I've been robbed," Rob says, not by thieves, but by the banks and the truck brands. His story is not an outlier. Across the country, owners who bought at the peak are trapped in a cruel spiral, watching what they thought was a safe bet turn into a devastating liability overnight. The repossession pipeline is moving faster than ever, and for thousands like Rob, the market crash is a daily reality, measured in lost sleep and the slow, steady threat of losing everything. But if the crash is hitting every brand, why are some models falling off a cliff while others hold firm? Industry insiders have spent months analyzing the data to find the single variable that explains the difference. The answer isn't just brand, trim, or mileage. It's the powertrain. A senior analyst at Black Book puts it bluntly: if you want to predict which trucks will lose value overnight, follow the powertrain. Regression analysis shows that battery electric vehicles, especially those with first-gen tech like the early F-150 Lightning, have the strongest negative correlation with resale value. When Ford announced a battery upgrade, used values for the earlier version dropped nearly 20% in 1 quarter. But the death spiral isn't limited to EVs. Discontinued models like the Nissan Titan are now seeing a 44% to 48% drop in 5-year value, with lenders refusing to write new loans. The ultimate silent killer, recalls. Trucks with unresolved safety or drivetrain recalls see their auction value instantly slashed by over 20%. Insurance companies are now rewriting their playbooks too, often declaring a truck a total loss, rather than paying for a $20,000 repair if it's packed with sensors or aluminum. Salvage auctions are flooded with barely broken trucks selling for 40 cents on the dollar. The old wisdom about trucks holding their value is dead. The only way to avoid getting burned is to understand what's under the hood and what the insurance industry is whispering behind closed doors. Lines are now forming outside used truck lots across Texas, a sign of just how sharply the market has turned. Trucks that once seemed out of reach are suddenly within grasp, but the gap between a bargain and a costly mistake has never been wider. In a market where $60,000 trucks are selling for $9,000, survival depends on picking models built to last. while Ram 2500S and Ford Super Duties gather dust for over 200 days. Toyota Tacomas and Tundras barely hit the lot before they're gone. A 2022 Tacoma SR5 recently sold for $32,500, only 15% off its peak, because fleet sales are limited and their reputation for reliability is unmatched. For those willing to gamble, the auction floors are stacked with Rams and Silverados with under 30,000 miles going for half their original sticker. The catch? Many are ex-fleet, have minor accident histories, or come with open recalls. The rules for surviving this crash are clear. Stick to simple powertrains, low-tech interiors, and clean histories.